Hey, comic lovers, EMoney, the Old Man, and Thor the Dog of Thunder back here again. Another beautiful day here in Louisville. Hey, Booty, how are you? Well, Thor went to his training class again this week, and, well, I don't want to say he embarrassed the family, but he didn't make us proud either. He's still working on socializing. We tried to learn a new trick, and he didn't do so well on that one either. He's got the old tricks down pat, pretty much. Like leave it. See how he does with that.
Leave it. Leave it. Leave it. Leave it. That's not leaving it. Not so good with me. With you, he probably has it down. But so I don't go to the training classes.
All right. Well, we're still working on it. All right. So, comic books. Today we are talking about the top 10 comic book teams of all time.
Got them teams. I've always liked teams. Always liked them.
And then later we're reviewing the top comic books from last week, and we're giving our previews for this week's comic books. And then we have a Stumpy Old Man segment for you. Going back to Stumpy Old Man.
Man, what's wrong with movieisms?
You know, I only got so many enemies, so, you know.
Well, I only got so many questions in me.
All right, kids, get ready to assemble because this is Back Issues.
What are you doing?
All right, so before we get started today, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, turn on your notifications, give us a thumbs up, and if you like, leave us a comment. I mean, especially with these top 10 lists that we do, we want to hear from you guys. I mean, did we leave something out? Do you disagree? Is there something you'd like to add to it? Let us know about it, all right? All right, so the top 10 comic book teams of all time. Now, there are so many different teams in comic books. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd heard that before?
Yeah.
All right, so, you know, we had to make some tough choices here.
Also keep in mind that we didn't go with the most powerful team.
Yes.
Or who's going to win in a fight.
I mean, some of these turn out to be the most powerful teams, but a lot of them are just ones that we enjoy.
Exactly.
Yeah. You know, who gives you the most entertainment value, I guess, is what makes up this top 10 list.
Or what's the top 10 teams we've enjoyed.
Yeah. You know, like I said, you know, these are all based on our opinions. Number 10, Birds of Prey. Now, this is one that I've read a little bit of their comic issues, and they're kind of a spinoff to Batman, right?
Basically, most of the characters came from Batman.
All right. So they made their first appearance in Black Canary Oracle Birds of Prey #1 back in 1996.
Now, Oracle at this time was Barbara Gordon after she had been shot by the Joker.
Right.
And she really wasn't swinging on the rooftops for now.
Well, you know, they've enjoyed a lot of success in comic books, and a lot of people might not remember a 2002 short-lived series, Birds of Prey. Now, keep in mind, back then, you know, we didn't have a lot of TV shows, movies coming out.
Especially not live action
yeah,
stuff.
right. I mean, we didn't have the Arrowverse. We didn't have,
didn't have the Defenders.
I mean, yeah, Marvel is just now getting going with their TV shows. I mean, we had the Netflix series, which, you know, they pretty much canceled, and, you know, now they're starting to come out with WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, all that stuff. So it's been a long time coming. 2002, we got Birds of Prey, and I remember they teased us with like little glimpses of Batman in the first episode in flashbacks, and then you see Barbara Gordon as Batgirl, and you know, she's, you know, jumping around, and then the Joker shoots her, and the guy who played the Joker, I don't remember his name, and that's kind of the point I'm trying to make, because he's known as the Forgotten Joker. I mean, there's only a handful of guys who have played Joker in a live action TV show or movie, and he was in 2 episodes in flashbacks, and nobody remembers him. He had a couple lines even. So, you know, poor guy.
I don't remember him either.
No. So, you know, in this show, you have the Huntress and Barbara Gordon as the Oracle. And, you know, they have a partnership to start off with, and then they kind of take in a girl. I'm not sure if she was Dinah Lance, but she is a girl who will eventually grow up to become Black Canary. But like I said, the show was short-lived, and we didn't get to see a lot of the stuff that we wanted to. Although they did actually make a very short cameo appearance in the Crisis on Infinite Earths special for the CW recently. So that was Birds of Prey TV show, and of course the new movie just came out with Harley Quinn, and I don't know if they're going to do anything with those characters, if they're good enough to support their own movie without Harley.
Well,
but
let's face it, the actual title was Harley Quinn something.
Yeah. So there you have it, Birds of Prey, number 10. All right, number 9, Legion of Superheroes. These guys first appeared in Adventure Comics number 247 in 1958.
Now, the founding members were 3 teenagers who just happened to be in the right place at the right time. They saved some rich guy's life, and this took place in like the 32nd century.
Yeah. So far in the future.
Way in the future. And those 3 kids were Cosmic Boy, Saturn Girl, and Lightning Lad. Now, I think the guy's last name, I can't remember. Anyway, this rich guy, he sets him up with a clubhouse, which was looked like a giant rocket ship that went nose just straight down into the dark. But they started recruiting other heroes, and soon their membership is Legion. But some of the early members they picked up were Phantom Girl, Triplicate Girl, who unfortunately soon became Dual Damsel. One of her people got killed.
Yeah.
Invisible Kid, Colossal Boy, and Chameleon Boy. Now, down the road, you name it. They had the Karate Kid,
Bouncing Boy,
lame powers, but interesting character.
Now, where did their powers come from?
You name it. If you were to take any origin story from any of DC's characters.
So it wasn't like they were, recruiting, young people and like injecting them with stuff.
No.
Yeah.
Like you would have somebody like Colossal Boy came from a planet where they were just tall.
Okay.
Everybody on that planet was colossal. So he decided, hey, I want to be a superhero. I'm going to go to Earth and see if I can get in with these guys.
It's always not, much like Superman, where, you're just, another guy on your own planet, but you go to somebody else's planet, hey, I'm a superhero.
That's right. So you name it, and these guys had the origin. They even had the substitute Legion. People who, Stone Boy, his power was he turned to stone. He couldn't move when he did that. So his powers weren't quite good enough to get him into the league. He had Chlorophyll Kid, guy who had like plant powers, which actually sounds like he should have made the main team, but for whatever reason they were the backup team.
So not a lot of appearances in media compared to other teams, but they've been around. One of the best episodes of Smallville was Clark gets attacked by this unknown villain, like a keen-eyed comic book person would recognize as the Executioner, and all of a sudden these 3 people show up and start attacking the Executioner, and I remember his axe is getting pulled on by something, and in the shot where this person grabs his axe, the close-up shot, you see the Legionnaire ring on his finger, and that's when you get this moment.
And the funny thing about the ring is it gave you the ability to fly. So when Superboy, and Supergirl went into the future and joined the Legion, they had the rings. They already fly.
Right. It's more than just a flight ring. It's
a universal translator.
It shows your membership as well.
It's a membership card.
Right.
You name it.
And, they've made several appearances on the Justice League animated show, which we'll get to in a moment. So, like I said, they've been around. All right, so that brings us to number 8, The Defenders.
All right, so you got Daredevil and you got Luke Cage.
Now, most people will think that when they think Defenders. The Netflix Defenders, Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist. But that's not what we get with the comic book version, is it?
No. definitely not.
Were those guys ever members of the Defenders?
Oh, yeah,
Okay,
yeah. The Defenders team changed over the years.
So Netflix wasn't totally making that up.
No.
Okay.
They were a team.
Okay.
But the original team was in Marvel Feature #1 back in 1971, and it consisted of Doctor Strange, the Hulk, and Namor, the Submariner. And soon, a few issues later, the Silver Surfer joined them.
Oh, okay.
Now, when you want to talk raw
Power level, yeah.
Right, that's a beast of a team right there.
Yeah, like not what Netflix got us at all, right?
Pretty much polar opposite.
Yeah.
But most of that was like, if you remember in the A-Team how Hamill used to have to deal with Mr. T, that's the way Doctor Strange used to deal with the Hulk. The Hulk is going to fight Submariner. Every time Submariner opens his mouth, the Hulk will take offense and want to take a swing. So Doctor Strange had to subtly manipulate him, which you could say it's a bad thing, but if you're going to have a guy like the Hulk on your team, you got to do something.
Well, I mean, who's worse at playing well with others, Namor or Hulk?
Namor's just a dick.
Yeah. So I mean, for different reasons, but still.
Well, the Hulk was never a dick. He just goes into rages. Namor was a prick.
All right, so there's the Defenders, and like I said, we covered their media coverage, which isn't as accurate as it should be from the comic books.
Well, another team that the roster changed over the years quite a bit.
Right. All right, so number 7, Teen Titans. Now, this has gone through several incarnations over the years. They first appeared in The Brave and the Bold number 54 in 1964.
And the first team was just 3 heroes who happened to all run into the same problem at the same time. You had Robin, you had Aqualad, and you had Kid Flash. Soon, Wonder Girl joined them. Not Wonder Woman, Wonder Girl. And pretty strong team. And
was Wonder Girl ever like Wonder Woman's sidekick, or is she just...
No, not that I've ever seen.
So she's just another Amazon from Themyscira?
No, there's a story there, but I don't remember.
Okay.
But at any rate, it's another team that's gone through the changes over the years. They recruited guys like Speedy, Green Arrow's sidekick. There was a couple more, and then they became the New Titans, and George Perez was drawing them then. And then most recently, the Titans.
Right. I mean, as the characters grow up and are no longer teenagers, they have to, rebrand themselves.
I mean, to me, the biggest change is when Robin became Nightwing.
And, Starfire also, popular character now, Raven, and media-wise, they've been around for a long time. They were in, they had those anime shows, which I despised, Teen Titans and Teen Titans Go. Then they had Young Justice, which great show.
It was pretty good.
Yeah, and it's right up there with the Justice League show, which we'll get to in a moment. And one of my favorite characters in that show was McGann, Miss Martian, and her character development was pretty amazing. She went from the wide-eyed new recruit, and she comes in there with her Uncle John, and you're like, oh my gosh, I love this here. We're on Earth, and I get to join this new super team. It's so great. And she grows into just a complete badass telepath and superhero, and is one of the leaders of the team now.
Well, let's face it, the power mix that the Martians have is pretty impressive.
One of my favorite ongoing things was with a telepath villain called Simon. And they would always engage each other telepathically, and every time kicked his ass. By the third time, when Simon just encountered her by chance, she kind of turns around, her eyes light up, and she's like, "Hello, Simon. You ready for round 3?" And he's just, yeah, not happy. But there's Teen Titan, and also the live action show. Yeah,
good stuff.
DC Universe, and
they picked up with Hawk and Dove in their team, which they've been in the comic book versions too. But I definitely like the TV version of Hawk and Dove.
And you had you had Dick Grayson start off with, and you had Starfire and Raven and Beast Boy, all these great characters, and Connor was recently Superboy was recently added to the team. So, and you had Jason Todd, who's been a developing character since he first appeared. Thing about that show is, you feel like the adults, the mentors, should show up at some point in this story. And if it were a comic book, they definitely would. But because of licensing and copyright ability and all that, they probably won't show up. Like surprisingly, in season 2, you had Bruce Wayne show up.
Not Batman.
Yeah, Batman didn't show up. You had Bruce Wayne, which don't get me wrong, I was pleasantly surprised with, but I would have loved to have seen him put on the suit. And, you feel like, Diana and Clark should show up at some point during these stories, but of course they don't, which is, it's frustrating, All right, so, Teen Titans. Number 6, the Bat Family. Now, for this, we're kind of fudging it a little bit.
We're just absolutely fudging. This is not
technically a family. No one made them T-shirts or anything. But I've gotten so much enjoyment from this non-team over the years that I feel like they have to be included. I mean, probably at least half of the comics I get that come from DC are in some way Batman related. Because, I think it's great storytelling. And this non-team includes Batman, all of the former and current Robins, Nightwing, Red Robin, the Red Hood, and the current Robin, Damian Wayne. And then you've got Batgirl, which I think, and Alfred. Those make up the core members of the Bat family. And then you have the extended Bat family. You have, you have Batwing, who is Lucius Fox's son. And then you have Huntress, Helena Bertinelli, Spoiler, Stephanie Brown, Orphan, Cassandra Cain. All of the ones I just mentioned, they've all been Batgirl at some point or another. And I think that's it. And there's also other extended family members. This current story we're reading, Harley Quinn is actually kind of like on the outer circle of the Bat family.
I'm not sure I like that, but we'll see.
I think it's great character development if she turns over a new leaf. And in one story I read recently, Clayface is actually helping out the team.
Well, the story I'm reading currently, he ain't helped nobody.
Oh, okay. So, you can only trust a reformed villain so far. So, So, Bat Family, and of course, they've made appearances. Batman, the animated series in the later seasons had members of the Bat Family, which, that's a highly successful show. And, they've appeared in Young Justice and in live action stuff. Not as much live action as I would like. No. Yeah. So, So, the Bat Family, number 6.
Number 5.
Number 5, Fantastic Four. Well, Marvel's first family.
Let's face it, since 1961, the Fantastic Four have been one of the top teams in comic books. Everybody knows you've got the Human Torch, you've got Mr. Fantastic, you've got the Invisible Woman, and you've got the Thing. But what a lot of people don't know is, like for a while, Thing changed back to Ben Grimm. He tried wearing an exoskeleton to make him look like the Thing, but that didn't work out so great. So there's been some people that have stepped in to help out over the years.
Wasn't there someone in a Thing suit, like Miss Thing?
She actually was a Ms. Marvel.
Okay.
And she was the She-Thing.
Okay.
You had She-Hulk. Spider-Man helped out. Luke Cage was on the team for a while. Crystal, Medusa, and even Ghost Rider were part of the Fantastic Four.
I didn't know that one.
Well, he was kind of part of the dark Fantastic Four. They had a totally different team.
And did you say Black Panther?
I think he was on the team, yeah.
Yeah, Black Panther and Storm joined up at one point. And, for me, in the media, you have, if you were a kid in the 80s and 90s, there were those VHS tapes that you would watch over and over again. One of them for me was a couple of the Fantastic Four episodes. And this one, don't hold it against me because it's all I had, were the cartoon shows with Herbie the Robot instead of the Human Torch.
Well, but you didn't want people to, little kids, to light themselves on fire.
I mean, that's the stick. I mean, I told you guys about this in an earlier episode. Somebody else had the rights to the Human Torch at the time, so they couldn't use him in the cartoon show. Not because they were afraid people would light themselves on fire. But anyways, I watched the Origin episode and the Impossible Man episode. I watched that one over and over again. It was fun. But in media, they've had some mixed success. They've had like tons of different cartoon shows over the years, not just that one. They've had the 1994 straight-to-video movie, which not successful. Then they had the 2005 film with Jessica Alba, which I thought that was the best adaptation, such as it was. Then the sequel, Rise of the Silver Surfer, not so great. And then the 2015 reboot, definitely not great. And now it's back in the hands of Marvel Studios, and we're hoping somewhere down the road, 2022, 2023.
Come on!
Maybe we get ourselves a new FF movie with people who, appreciate the source material.
No, don't screw it up.
Yeah. All right, so there it is. Number 5, Fantastic Four. Now on to number 4, the X-Men. And we're kind of, casting a wide blanket with this definition.
Yeah, we're including X-Men, X-Factor, X-Force. I mean, let's face it. X-Factor was the same team as the original X-Men. Mm-hmm. Exact same team. So, a bunch of X guys.
And it got kind of overwhelming in the 90s with all the different X titles. So, mm-hmm. But, yeah, I mean, X-Men has been around since 1963. And, Stan Lee, I feel like this is a bit of a soapbox for him, this title, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it gets very preachy. Mm-hmm. But it's all about discrimination.
Inequality, mm-hmm. all that kind of stuff.
Which is it's a good topic.
Yeah. I mean, he was, playing to the audience of the time. And, I think it's still relevant.
Well, what a lot of people don't realize is the original X-Men book went into reprints for a while. They weren't selling. Mm. So to save money, instead of putting new material in, they reprinted the old stuff, kept the numbering sequence going, and then canceled it. Mm. It was canceled for quite a bit. Yeah. But then Giant Size X-Men number 1 came out, and X-Men number 94 after that, and we got a new game going on now.
So you're saying Wolverine saved the X-Men?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. All right, so in media, X-Men, it's been all over the place. Another one of those videos, VHSs, that I watched over and over again as a kid, Pride of the X-Men. If you haven't watched it, I recommend, it's on YouTube, you can find it, Pride of the X-Men, Pride with a Y instead of an I, like Kitty Pryde. And this was an intended TV series before the Fox Kids X-Men version.
It was a pilot.
Yeah. And they never went anywhere with it, which
don't know why.
Because
it was the best animated X-Men ever.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I mean, I enjoyed the Fox Kids X-Men. I have the whole season on DVD. But you put any one episode of the Fox Kids X-Men up against Pride of the X-Men wins, my opinion. So I watched all those, and they've put out all kinds of cartoons over the years. I think it's called X-Men Generations, Wolverine and the X-Men, all kinds of stuff. And then you have the Fox films, and they've been mostly successful, a little hit and miss there. Hugh Jackman, just like Wolverine, kind of carried that series. So there you have number 4, the X-Men. All right, so number 3, and this is one that media-wise hasn't been as popular as some of the other stuff here. The Justice Society of America.
There's the Arrowverse show.
Stargirl.
And didn't the Justice Society show up in one of the Arrowverse shows?
Yes, they did, which makes Stargirl a little confusing. But, they've had their appearances. They even appeared in an episode of Smallville back in the day.
Well, let me tell you, when I was a wee lad and buying comic books off the rack, and there was a time when the comic books would have little circles with the characters' pictures in it that were going to be in the comics. And a couple of times the Justice League crossed over with Justice Society, which was, the Justice Society was from like Earth 2 or Earth 12 or whatever Earth they were from. Right. They were from a different planet. And they would meet in a comic book, and I'd look at those pictures and go, who are these guys? Man, and I start reading, and you got Mr. Terrific, Dr. Midnight, Our Man, Sandman. Great characters. I loved them.
And this was, you had Dr. Fate too, right?
Dr. Fate, the Spectre.
Yeah.
The Spectre was in the group. Now, they had their own Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, and Robin. They had those guys, but they were different characters. They were the same, but different. And you could have Batman going head-to-head with Batman.
Yeah.
But I couldn't get enough Justice Society, but there was no Justice Society book until later.
And, this is, the way they define this team is Justice League is a team, Justice Society is a family. And that's kind of how it's portrayed in this comic book series that we have in trade that came out in the last 10, maybe 20 years. And, the writing on this series is amazing. They kind of reboot the series in this one, right? And some of the cool stuff in this one was Black Adam actually joined the team for a while. And you had new characters like Atom Smasher and Red Cyclone. Was that her name?
Red Tornado.
Red Tornado. Okay, different version of Red Tornado. And a lot of other cool characters in here. I highly recommend you check it out. The Justice Society trade paperbacks.
In fact, they've done a newer Justice Society that we haven't started reading yet. We've just started gathering the trade paperbacks. It's those ones I've got with Alex Ross covers on them.
Okay.
So, looking forward to reading that. I mean, I just love the team. So.
All right, so we're down to 2, and if you're a comic book savvy person, you could probably guess who the last 2 are.
Well, when EMoney and I sit down to compare our personal list and compile them into one list, he had my number 2 team as his number 1, and I flip-flopped it. So we kind of got together, decided how we were going to do it, and I outvoted him.
Okay. All right, so number 2, Justice League. So this team has been around for practically forever, and they made their first appearance in The Brave and the Bold, number 28, in 1960.
Now, that first team consisted of Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Martian Manhunter, Flash, Green Lantern, and technically Batman and Superman were on the team, I think, but they don't show up in the first few issues. It was several issues before they showed up on the cover, and they picked up Green Arrow real soon too. But you take DC's strongest characters who are all capable of carrying their own comic,
right? I mean, that's
put them in the same book.
That's the big difference between all the other teams and these last 2 teams on the list here. And when I was a kid in the 90s, the Justice League had pretty much the most powerful version of itself. Like earlier during the Doomsday story, it had the weakest version, and you had team members like Fire and Ice and Maxima and Bloodwind.
Doomsday waded through those
Guy
guys
Gardner,
like a knife through butter.
But then, a few years later, you had probably the most powerful version of it. You had Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Green Lantern, Aquaman, and Martian Manhunter. You didn't have Cyborg in this version. Okay. And Martian Manhunter. So you had those 7 members. It's like, bring it on, right? So, they've enjoyed all kinds of media success over the years. And, it's one of those teams where, the roster is constantly changing. In
fact, let's face it. If you're a DC superhero, you probably have been a member of Justice League.
Or at least a reservist. And the animated show, I mean, it made for great storytelling. the first few seasons, they had the 7 founding members in this version: Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Jon Stewart, Green Lantern, Hawk Girl, and Martian Manhunter. And, those 7 guys carried the story, and, they had guest stars every now and then. They had Aquaman, a couple other characters show up at times, and it was pretty cool. But then, a few seasons later, they became Justice League Unlimited. And it felt like, they had gotten the rights to pretty much every DC character out there to use on this show, and they did. They, after an alien invasion, they decided that they needed to expand the team and basically made a small army of superheroes. And then you had guys like Green Arrow, you had Supergirl, you had Steel, you had Hawk and Dove. One episode they dedicated to focusing on Booster Gold. And yeah, I mean, it's all kinds of cool stuff and made for great storytelling. One of my favorite episodes, the Justice League was totally stretched thin, and a guy who had like Hulk level strength and powers attacked a parade where a few of the members were making an appearance, and they were all team members who were human and had stuff going on. You had Stargirl, you had Green Arrow, you had Stargirl's stepfather, who I've forgotten his name, Stripe, and you have a few other people, and so these people who are human in essence with gadgets are taking on this Hulk level threat, and they had to contend with it. Which, Shining Knight and Vigilante, those were the other members. Great storytelling. I highly recommend check it out. All right. So, and obviously, recently you've got the Justice League in the DCEU. People, they weren't happy with the Joss Whedon cut, but now the Snyder version, the Snyder cut has just come out, and now social media is all over it, asking Warner Brothers to restore the Snyderverse.
DC's just tends to be a mess.
Yeah.
I mean, they need to make up their mind what they're going to do. Get a plan, stick with the plan.
Well, you know what? I treat the DCEU or any DC film kind of like I did the Fox XMen movies. I'm just going to try to enjoy this as a standalone film, and if you refer to flashbacks, I'll say to myself, okay, this stuff is important. I'm not going to really pay attention to any other stuff because they tell me this stuff is what I need to focus on. All right, so there's number 2. Number 1, the Avengers.
Of course.
Right.
Duh.
Right. I mean, as far as most powerful, most entertainment value, I mean, hard to really compare.
Well, some people would argue with you with most powerful, but to me that's not important. What's important is how entertaining they are. And I remember back in the early 60s, probably 1963, on a road trip with my family, and it's my time to get a comic book every 100 miles. Mm-hmm. My mom hands me back Avengers number 1. I fell in love with that comic. It is, to this day, it is the single comic book that I have read more than any other comic, whether it's in a reprint format or the original one that I don't have anymore. But
why didn't you keep it?
I know. I mean, I'd recognize it if I saw it today. It's got my name written by my grandmother. I don't know why. Right in the middle of the comic book, Irvin, right there in the middle of it. But at any rate, that is the reason I became a comic book collector, because I had to know what happened next. Mm-hmm. Of course, at that age, trying to find consecutive comic books in that era when it was just hard to do. There were no comic shops. Mm-hmm. But I remember first time we saw Loki. Yeah. First time I saw Rick Banner. Oh, man. I can go on and on about this, guys. But the original team, of course, was Thor, Iron Man, Hulk, Ant-Man, and the Wasp. Great team. Then in issue 3, the Hulk can't get along with Iron Man. He says, I'm out. Mm-hmm. Issue 4, Captain America, my man, shows up and instant leadership.
Right.
And not long after that, Iron Man and Thor went off to do their thing. And Cap picked up Hawkeye and the previously villains, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, who were members of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants.
Mm-hmm.
He picked them up. Hank Pym came back not as Ant-Man, but as Goliath. I think he was stuck in a 10-foot form. And Wasp came with him. So those stories, when arguably the team consisted of its weakest members,
Mm-hmm.
were the greatest stories.
Mm-hmm.
I loved that run of the Avengers. And the Avengers have been like a lot of the teams that I like, constantly changing roster. I mean, they'll have an issue where they have a roster change, where they vote on it. They decide, well, who are we going to take? All these people have submitted to be an Avenger. Who are we going to pick?
Mm-hmm.
There's one that's got the cover of all these different guys who they're going to consider. Great stuff. I love me the Avengers.
On a side note, how many identity crises has Hank Pym had over the years?
Let's see, Ant-Man, Giant Man, Goliath, back to Ant-Man, Yellow Jacket. He had the other universe.
The Ultimate Universe?
Ultimate Universe, where he was an absolute dickhead.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's the guy who's probably had more, aliases, personas than any other character over the years.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Now, Vision's a mess, too, but it's because they took Wonder Man's Simon Williams' engrams from his brain and created the... Yeah, trust me, they didn't go into all that in WandaVision, but in the comics, Vision is a mess. But at any rate.
All right, so, and, Avengers, they've been all over the place in media. They've had 2 successful animated shows. They had the Ultimate Avengers movies, animated movies, and, of course, the MCU, obviously.
Avengers #1. 4 stars.
Okay.
Highest rating from this guy.
5 shield. Yeah.
I don't do shields when I rate movies, and movies are on a 4-star system.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. You said Avengers #1. I thought you meant the comic book.
No, the first movie, 4 stars, my highest rating. Never been a year that I gave more than 1 4-star rating.
Fun fact, did you know that it wasn't until Avengers Endgame that you had the original comic book Avengers in a scene together?
True.
Yeah,
right.
Because up until that point, the Wasp had never met any of the other team members. And, I'm not sure if she still has actually met any of those guys.
Sure, well, she would have met him at the funeral.
Right. And, they've had, 4 team movies, not to mention all of the, standalone from each of the members on it now.
Let's face it, Captain America Civil War was an Avengers movie.
Right. And, they, the Avengers are what drive the MCU, pretty much. And, we talked about last episode how, they have trouble, like, other teams in the Marvel Universe going in the MCU. Like, we want, XMen, we want Fantastic Four, we'd like Young Avengers if they can do it.
I'd like to see the Netflix Defenders team back, too.
Right, let's do that. All right, so there you have it, #1, which rounds out our list. So, like I said, we always want to hear comments from you guys. What do you guys think? Are there other teams that you think deserve to be on this list? Let us know about it.
You'll notice that every one of our teams was either Marvel or DC.
Yeah. I mean, I do read other comic books, but, I think DC and Marvel make up the best teams.
To be honest, the only team I even considered... No, that's DC too. I was going to say the Watchmen, but...
That's also DC.
It got picked up at DC, so...
Mm-hmm. All right, so there's our top 10 list now. Let's move on to our top 3 comic books from last week. All right, so number 3, what do we have?
All right, so... Kind of a surprise for me.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think this would be this good, but we picked up Avengers, Curse of the Man-Thing, #1. Now, I wasn't totally surprised. I liked it because I like the Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
But EMoney hates Swamp Thing, So I didn't think he'd go for Man-Thing. They're very similar characters, but he did. We gave that one 3.5 shields.
All right, so a few minor notes here. Like, I haven't read a lot of the stuff that led up to this, so I thought I knew the characters well enough. But in the comic book, why is She-Hulk talking the way she is? And also, why are they calling her Hulk and not She-Hulk? What happened to Banner? I don't know. If you know, let me know. Tell me in the comments section.
All right, ready for number 2?
Number 2.
Number 2, I was very impressed with this, was Silk number 1. Now, this is a character that was bitten by the same spider that bit Peter Parker.
Mm-hmm.
And then she got locked away in a bunker, so I forget why, but so nobody would know about her.
And I'm always a little hesitant when a character gets their own spin-off series because, obviously the writing and artist team are going to change, so you're thinking, is it going to be as good as, whatever the original was? But, so far, I'm enjoying this. And, yeah, that's it. Number 2, Silk.
All right, and number 1. When the first issue of this comic came out, I think we had it in our top 3.
Mm-hmm.
And this is issue number 2 of 2 Moons.
Yep.
It's an Image comic. It takes place in the late part of the Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of supernatural stuff to it. The first one had werewolves in it. This one has Coyote, the American Indian spirit.
Now, for this one, I still liked it, obviously, because it's number 1. I didn't like it quite as much as the first issue, because that was, that had a lot of action in it. With this one, I feel like we're getting kind of bogged down in, dream and vision stuff. And anytime I come to that on the page, and I'm just like, all right, let's move along. Let's get back to the story here.
But like you said, you still liked it, because we gave it 4 shields.
Mm-hmm. So there it is, number 1. And I just want to say, if you've been watching our reviews over the last weeks and months, with DC and Marvel having a couple of exceptions, the indies are where it's at right now.
Well, I almost don't consider Image independent, but it's not Marvel or DC.
Right.
So,
the two biggies having exceptions. The other companies are where it's at right now. Put it that way.
Some of our favorite books are about non-Marvel and DC companies.
Right. So highly recommend. If you usually just kind of stick to Marvel and DC superhero stuff, I advise you to venture out. Look on the rack a little bit.
When you go into your local LCS, ask the guys what's good that's not Marvel and DC.
Right.
And listen to them. Because unless you got some jerks at your local comic shop, they're going to give you some good recommendations. So, I trust the guys at Comic Book World when we go in there, and they've steered us in the right direction several times. Now,
all right, so what do we got coming up this week?
Next week, or this week?
Yes, this week.
Well, in this case, it'll be today, won't it?
Yeah. Well, you want to check out today.
Yeah, today. There's some good stuff coming out, some interesting stuff. We've got Green Lantern #1. You've got the next Batman Second Son #1. You've got both of the Star Trek, the High Republic books coming out.
Star Wars, yep.
Sorry, Star Trek. There's a rock and roll horror book I'm interested in called The Silver Coin. We'll see. But the ones that I think we're looking forward to the most would be number 3, King in Black #5, the last of the series, which is why I'm looking forward to it. Let's get that crap wrapped up.
I've enjoyed King in Black.
Which explains why we recommend it. Now, number 2 is an Image book. Image is trying to get back into the superhero game more than they have been over the years. So we've got a #1 comic coming out. It's called Geiger. It looks like it's kind of like a Hulk origin story where a guy gets zapped by massive amounts of radiation. He glows, he flies, he becomes a superhero. It's called Geiger.
Okay.
And we're going to pick up Geiger #1. Got high expectations.
All right.
But the one we've heard the most noise about, that everybody's talking about, is from Boom Studios, and it's Magic the Gathering #1. Now, back in the day, I played a lot of Magic the Gathering. Loved the card game. In fact, the latter years of the comic book shop I ran, if it hadn't been for Magic the Gathering, we might not have made it as long as we did. But I'm looking forward to this one. It's number 1, Magic the Gathering.
Have they done Magic the Gathering comics before? Mm-hmm. Okay, it seems like that would be a untapped potential there if they had. But
well, they were,
right.
the old ones were terrible.
Okay. All right, so there's our top recommendations for this week. Check out these if you haven't already. All right, so I have a Stumpy Old Man segment all picked out for...
You don't have a movieism?
No, sorry.
I like movieism.
I know you do. All right, so let's head outside with Thor. All right, comic lovers, back out here with Thor, and it's time for our Stumpy Old Man segment.
My favorite part of the show.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it's Thor's favorite segment, right? Yeah.
You're just mean. You are. You're just a mean little dog.
All right, so question number 1. Something that many fans might be surprised to learn, Professor John Marston, the creator of Wonder Woman, is also credited as the inventor of what?
No, that's an easy one. Was that in the movie?
I believe so, yes.
Well, I saw the movie, as you well know. Mm-hmm. The lie detector.
That is correct.
Got that one.
Yeah. If you want full details on the life of Professor John Marsden, you can check out Professor Marsden and the Wonder Women.
That was a different cat.
Yeah, he was a weird one. Bit of an oddball. All right, on to number 2. So we're talking about teams this week, so I'm covering animal question and a team question at the same time here.
Oh, now you're stretching it.
Yeah, hey buddy. All right, name 3 members of the Legion of Super Pets.
All right, so future Prody.
All right, that is correct.
Chameleon Boy's pet.
Got one.
Was the horse? Was Comet one of them?
That is also correct. Comet the Super Horse.
Let's see. There was a monkey. I don't remember the monkey's name. And the dog's too easy. I'm not going to go with the dog. Let's go with the cat. Streaky.
Correct. That's 3.
I wasn't going to use Crypto. It's too easy.
All right. So other members included Crypto the Super Dog.
What was the monkey's name?
Beppo the Super Monkey.
Beppo.
Yeah. You also had the Bat Cow.
The what?
The Bat Cow.
Get out of here.
Nope.
I don't remember a bat cow.
Flexi the Plastic Bird.
I don't remember that either.
Clay Critter. And Titus the Bat Hound.
Okay, I didn't know there was a bat hound even in the future, but
yeah. There's also Ace the Bat Hound, but more recently you've had Titus the Bat Hound, the Great Dane.
Well, this is a Legion of superheroes.
Right. Legion of Super Pets. Yeah.
I don't think. Oh, Legion of Super Pets, not the pets of the. Well, I got lucky there.
All right, so 2 for 2. So
win.
We're just doing it for fun here. All right, number 3. If you were to dive into the Spider-Verse, name 4 alternate versions of Spider-Man that you may encounter.
Okay, first off, I'm one of those guys who really doesn't like all that stuff. Like, for example, I hate Spider-Ham. That's one, right?
That's one.
I did kind of like the black and white guy, Spider-Man Noir.
Yep. Voiced by Nick Cage in the movie.
Well, we just read Silk, the comic book, number 1.
It's 3.
Well, good. I wasn't sure about that one, but since you said it was, it was.
Mm-hmm.
And what the hell? Spider-Gwen.
Also correct. So there you go.
This guy.
Other ones that you may encounter are Miles Morales, the Spider Monkey. One that I thought was kind of interesting, in this version, Aunt May realizes that Peter forgot his lunch on for his field trip to the science lab, takes it to him, and she ends up getting bitten by the radioactive spider.
Oh, Spider Aunt May.
Yeah, she becomes Spider-Ma'am.
Okay.
Yep. And let's see, other versions, you have Spider UK, Spider-Man India, the Scarlet Spider, Spider-Man 2099, of course, the Superior Spider-Man, and also Spider-Punk.
Okay, I remember Spider-Punk. He was not so bad.
Yeah. All right, so 3 out of 3. The old man definitely wins this week.
Well, the first one was a gimme. So
Okay.
I appreciate the gimmies, but you can do better than that. Next week he's gonna give me 3 impossible questions.
I might.
I hate you.
All right, comic lovers, that about wraps it up for this week. But before we go, what we're going to be doing next week. And next week, I got another top 10 list in store. We're going to be counting down the top 10 fighters in comic books.
Like hand to hand.
Hand-to-hand fighters. And there's a lot to choose from. Of course, you got Batman, you've got Captain America, you've got Daredevil, you got Deathstroke. I mean, how many more can we think of? We're going to find out. And, of course, we're going to be back out here with Thor, ready for another couple segments, Stumpy the Old Man, or maybe I'm going to go back to movieisms. I don't know.
I'm okay with the movieisms.
All right, kids, we'll see you next week. Excelsior.
Easy. True believers, if you're getting behind on your comic book reading, you don't want to catch up for the weather gets so nice you don't want to stay indoors.